Welcome to Heart of the Hustle. I am here with Julie Sears from Integrity Health Insurance Advisors. And we've known each other for a couple years just from networking around here, our area in Frisco, Texas, north of Dallas. And I'm so excited to have you here on the show.
Me too.
So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us what you do.
I have been a licensed health insurance agent going on 8 years now. Got started because our health insurance at work was not great and my husband was self-employed and we needed to find a good option. And I realized I was the mom everybody came to ask questions anyway at work. So why not make it a business? And I actually just love it. My husband says I need a hobby. And so, because I like health insurance and it's weird for people. So just love helping educate people on their options, making sure that they've got the right plan in place, make it as affordable as possible so that we're not, cutting into the family budget for other fun things.
Yeah, I think there's so many misconceptions about health insurance and how much it's going to cost. And, now there's that, the marketplace and do you go private and can you get insurance if you, especially people like me who are from corporate America, right? I can't even get health insurance if I'm an entrepreneur. And I know that's really kind of your specialty is working with small business owners. Tell us, is it possible to get health insurance when you're a small business owner? Because so many people are scared to leave corporate.
It is. I do talk to a lot of people who are trying to plan to make that leap. And, that's the scary part is what's that going to look like for their family if they're the ones carrying that coverage. And it is possible. You just have to have some realistic expectations because you don't have an employer paying half. And the good thing is that you get to write it off. The IRS at least allows that. We can write it off as a business owner as one of our expenses. Obviously, we don't have that immediate gratification of seeing that, in our bank account right away. But at least, it is there. The option is there. And we've got the marketplace. We've got private. Obviously, with the marketplace, it changed a lot of things for, private coverage and that individual space. But that's where I come in to help kind of navigate and make sure all the ins and outs and the do's and don'ts and really what that worst case scenario looks like in the event something happens, because that's what it's for.
What's really the difference, or why would you think about the marketplace over, let's say, a private insurance company?
So a lot of private ones will have limitations because they don't comply with the marketplace now. So in order to be considered an accepted benefit plan or a limited benefit, they don't have all those same criteria that the marketplace does. So there's something missing. And there's agents out there that don't want to disclose what it's missing. They just give you the better price. And unfortunately, sometimes you do get what you pay for. And so, general rule of thumb, you can add a 0 to your age, and that's going to be probably the baseline, bottom line dollar that you're going to pay for your insurance. And that's, of course, for everybody in your household. So if you've got a family of 5 or 6, that gets expensive really quick because also when you go on the individual plans, you're paying per person. Where in corporate, you're bundled as a family. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 kid, 5 kids, it's the family plan and you have that one rate. So that makes a big difference when you're shopping and making that determination if it's time to make that leap.
What are some of the things that are covered on the marketplace versus private?
Biggest thing is probably maternity. Private coverage isn't going to cover maternity in most cases. Mental health is a big one. Because obviously you can have the gamut of just need to talk to a therapist or obviously some more severe diagnosis where more care. And just like any other insurance that we get, they're looking at worst case scenario. So they're going to base your rates on worst case scenario. You got too many tickets, you're probably not a great driver. They're going to give you the highest rates on your car. And unfortunately, if there's any type of mental health, they're looking at what that worst case scenario would look like if things went the wrong direction.
But the marketplace
the marketplace is, the biggest misconception with the marketplace is that I don't qualify because obviously we lived in an area that is a little more affluent and, people have successful businesses here and maybe make a little bit more than some. And they're like, I don't qualify, I make too much money. That's not a factor. It's just whether you're getting in on the right open enrollment periods, or if you have a special enrollment, everyone qualifies. not everyone qualifies for subsidies and assistance based on their income. So that's probably my number one that I hear all the time. Oh, I don't qualify. So, sometimes it is the best place. Again, it's just determining which plan on the marketplace is the best fit.
Right. Because you qualify for insurance. You just might not qualify for some government support in paying for that insurance.
So those tax credits may not be extended to someone due to the fact that their income hits a certain threshold. Right now, they're expanded because of the previous legislation, but that's, due to expire this year. Who knows what they'll do? Obviously, it's always a hot button topic for the government, and we're just sitting and waiting to find out what they'll do for the next open enrollment period. And,
I often find that as a small business owner, one of the big benefits, as somebody who does the marketplace, and we'll talk about that later, and the reason why I do the marketplace is it's not based on your net income, not your business income, right? Not your business's income. And so often for most small business owners, that's a lot less, maybe than it was before, because we write off everything, right? Legally, of course, everything's legal, right? But legally, we can write off a lot of things. So, sometimes that helps, whether you get subsidies or not.
Right. And some people just don't want to mess with the subsidies because they don't want, obviously, they don't want the IRS digging into any of those deductions more than they should, more than they want them to. So, sometimes it's just a matter of they don't want to take those tax credits. And of course, they can always take them on the backside of the year. There's lots of different opportunities. So it's just a conversation I have with people. And sometimes it's a little extra nosy trying to find out, medically what you've got going on. If you have something planned, some things we can hold off and plan, or depending on age appropriate things, we get more stuff done after a certain age. So, what's on the docket so we can make sure that you've got all the right things covered. And of course, there's so many things we can't plan. And that's the biggest reason to, make sure it's in place before something happens. Our options are so much more limited after we wreck the car. Like we can't call and, Geico ain't gonna help us out. So neither will Blue Cross or United if something goes wrong. And unfortunately, I've had several incidences this year, it's only April, where they need emergency surgery. And it's not cheap.
Yeah, you were telling me that the other day. Like somebody just called and they said, I need to get my gallbladder out. Can I get insurance?
And they're like, no. And like, it has to come out like yesterday. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no. And obviously you can't wait until, open enrollment will be in November. And that coverage doesn't start till January, which is despite, the marketplace being 12, going on 13. It doesn't start as soon as you sign up. It starts the following year. So it starts January 1st. And, and more than likely you're going to have a $9,000 plus out of pocket. So you might be able to negotiate some cash rates. Let's see what we can work out, because you can't hold off 8 more months. Not when they're telling you it needed to come out, weeks ago.
Can you get insurance though if you have somewhere like is there something called like a qualifying event, like you get laid off, or what does that mean?
So for special enrollment periods, you have to have a qualifying event, and those would be having a baby. But the thing is the baby has the special event. You don't, unfortunately, getting pregnant. Now there are some states that are trying to make that a thing where getting pregnant is a special enrollment period.
Which means, so special enrollment means you can get insurance outside of the normal, like open enrollment, which is in November to start in January.
Yeah. And so then your insurance would start the first of the following month. Now, people are going to have different opinions on that because, of course, we're paying our premiums every month and not really using our coverage. And a lot of people who are trying to get things last minute just want it for the one time and, pay the couple $100 a month and get their surgery and move on about their day. And those are the ones that are like, oh, I'm healthy. I'm like, we just needed a $50,000 surgery. Not the picture of health exactly, but okay.
So what are some of the other qualifying events?
Getting married, moving. So if you move counties, because just from Denton to Collin County, the options are different. Just with that little dividing line, some of the options are available in Collin County that aren't available in Denton County. So, yeah. So obviously people, now if you move from Collin to Denton, you might be able to change your plan and get a different plan that works better for you, but you don't necessarily have to change it because if you have Baylor, Scott, and White and you're in Collin County and you don't want to switch, don't switch because it's not available in Denton County. So yeah, if people live on the line, I live on the line. So, people are like, oh, I want Baylor, Scott, and White. And I'm like, well, then I suggest you look in 75033 because it's across the line and you can get it there. But unfortunately, you have to be losing coverage in order to have a special enrollment period. So you can't just decide to move and make a dramatic change in your life and get married just so you can try to get insurance because you didn't lose qualifying coverage in that event. So that's where a lot of people also get stuck.
But is getting like leaving a job?
Leaving a job. So you have 60 days from losing your coverage. So depending on the reason for leaving, if they're giving you a severance, if they're, I have several people that are reaching out that their coverage is going to end, midsummer. And so they're already kind of planning ahead of what that looks like for July 1st or, later on in the year because they either took a voluntary separation and they're covering the insurance until X date. But then you technically have 60 days from the end of that date to get new insurance. So private, you can enroll anytime. But I always tell people don't wait till the last minute because if for some reason you don't qualify for private coverage, now you have no option because you went through your 60-day window and now don't have that window.
Yeah, let's talk about not qualifying because this happened to you and I, right? So I came to you a couple years ago and said, I, like everyone else, need health insurance, but I have a pre-existing condition because I had rheumatoid arthritis all through my 20s and 30s and have been in remission for 15 years, but still. And we went down, you tried to find private health insurance for me and it wasn't going to happen. Yeah. It wasn't going to happen. I got denied. And so it's an interesting, so I'm kind of lifelong denied, which is an interesting, I feel so blessed that the marketplace is even available because I wouldn't be able to be an entrepreneur, right? I wouldn't be able to do this without having the marketplace coverage. But what are some of the other things that people don't realize might make you not qualified for private insurance?
The biggest one right now are all the weight loss drugs, the GLP-1 medications that everyone is jumping on and, they have a purpose and they're great and they help people, get some of that stuff under control, hopefully before it becomes a problem. I've had people tell me that in order to get them more affordably, they've had their doctor mark them as diabetic. So then they qualify for the coupons, which is fraud, by the way. Don't do it. But it now makes them, ineligible for private insurance.
Because they've been labeled diabetic, which is a chronic ongoing disease, right. Kind of like.
And so, again, you have that spectrum, right, of some people can manage it just fine, diet, exercise, do the right things. And then you have some that don't. And I remember my first year of insurance, I was like, shook because I talked to people that were like, oh, I just haven't had insurance, haven't gone to the doctor, and I have this sore and it's a diabetic sore. And they're like, I'm probably gonna have to have my leg amputated. And I'm like, go to the doctor. Oh my gosh. And they're like, well, I don't have insurance. And at the time, they were outside of open enrollment. I'm like, I looked up the nearest public hospital. I'm like, they can't turn you away. Please go. I'm like, please just go. Before you hopefully lose a leg. But you have those people who just don't take care of themselves. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of that in this country that, there's not a care. So again, the insurance is looking at it very black and white. They're looking at the worst case scenario. What if you don't control your diabetes like so many people do? And you end up in a diabetic coma or amputations or all of those things that are going to cost them thousands and thousands of dollars. And so the weight loss one is the biggest one that I think I see right now. A lot of other conditions, may not be too terrible, but if you've got a lot of chronic conditions, then it does make it more difficult. Just depends on what it is. and I guess kind of the severity of what it is. And with like RA, some people manage, some people go into remission. Some people are getting infusions that are tens of thousands of dollars a month. And so that's what the insurance is looking at, is that worst case scenario for them. And obviously you paying $500 a month in premiums, they're going to be upside down right from the get-go. And unfortunately, it is a business. I may not necessarily agree with our healthcare system. And that's why I try to just help people navigate it the best we can to keep the out-of-pocket as low as possible for them, keep the monthly premiums affordable. I don't care if it is a write-off. We'll find other write-offs that are better, that are cool. We can buy some cool swag and get a mug. Yeah.
Part of the hustle mugs.
Way cooler than our insurance premium. So I'd rather, save the money for someone and at least they understand what to expect in that event. That something does happen. And, but the jumping on the bandwagon with the weight loss has been kind of brutal, and it's upsetting for some people, but
yeah. And they probably don't realize it, right? We're just trying to, we're just kind of trying to work the system, right? Which we all want to do, right?
And save some money, right? Instead of paying $1,200 a month, then I'd like that $25 coupon, please, because that's fantastic. But I mean, moving forward, life insurance, health insurance, everything is going to be more expensive and, or impossible to get. You might have a more limited option. You may have more out of pocket, and you are not going to be able to get a doctor to take that off your records because they're going to have to say that they lied.
Right.
And they're not risking their license for that. So it makes it tough. And the fact that I've talked to more than one person who's done it, I was just like, it's a little troublesome. It's worrisome for the doctors involved, honestly. I mean,
yeah, for sure. Are there any other things that you see people doing that they, like that? Maybe what about mental health, right? If people we were joking earlier about everybody sort of has ADHD is like the new cool diagnosis. Do we all have ADHD, or are we just like overwhelmed and overstimulated all the time? And so, but how would like a diagnosis like that, how does that impact, and especially for our kids? Is that something that will follow them? What are the impacts?
So, I mean, yeah, like you said, we're all a little overstimulated for sure and stretched a little thin. I mean, especially in this area, I mean, kids and sports and glad to be out of that. But no, you got an active kid, so you're always on the go, right? And so, and running a business and keeping a household and trying to just keep everything straight. The biggest thing with the kids is that I feel like doctors are trying to get away from some of the stimulants, which is fantastic, but some of the medications that they're putting them on and some of the things that kids are being put on just for some of the mental health stuff are pretty intense. And it does stick it. I mean, so there is it's called an IntelliScript. So it is basically a credit profile of all your prescriptions that you've had filled. And so when you apply for life insurance or health insurance, usually they take a look at your IntelliScript to see what you're having done. And so I've had people that are like, I'm perfectly healthy. I haven't filled a prescription in years. Whoo, they got pages. It's a novel.
I mean, that doesn't count.
I mean, I had a guy, I was like, oh, you're taking pain meds you're getting them filled every month. Oh, we don't actually take them. Okay, well, then the insurance is looking at it two ways. You have chronic pain, which is a problem, or you have a drug problem, or you're dealing, which is also a problem for them. So she's like, I mean, you can come, like the insurance company's not coming to your house to count your pills. And again, why are you stockpiling them? That is also a problem. So that's where the insurance is taking a look. And I mean, they were refilled every 30 days, like clockwork. And I mean, he claimed that he didn't have a pain problem. Well, then they're going to see it as a drug problem, or you're trying to supplement your income. But either any of those options they're not going to approve you. They were super offended and mad, but there are records. And then same thing, Medical Information Bureau, MIB. It is not like the Will Smith version, and it's not aliens or anything, but it keeps record of any like major medical information that's relevant to us. So, or any other potential. So like if you had a DUI, it'll go in your MIB report because that is a flag for a risk factor. If you may have a drinking problem, private insurance and life insurance will not extend a policy to you if you're a higher risk. And so most insurance will do a MIB hit and do an IntelliScript hit, like Quest and LabCorp do lab, insurance can find out if you just had abnormal labs. And so when you're applying for these things, you do give them authorization to check that. And I mean, it's an electronic thing. They look for red flag drugs, And so sometimes now with a lot of illnesses being treated with other alternatives, metformin is a big one. It can be used for PCOS in women, help with their cycle. It can help with weight loss, but its number one main use was always diabetes. So if that pops up on your IntelliScript,
they're going to think you have diabetes.
They could potentially, unless we list it and list the reasoning, and it has to be a reason, PCOS is a fine use of that medication for an insurance company. Diabetes is a problem because, again, back to the what level are you at? And,
Yeah, the potential for some expensive care.
Because they're looking at it as you're going to get on this policy, you're going to keep it forever. And so, once an insurance company approves you, they cover you from then on. So, if you did have a diabetic episode 30 days in, they're on the hook legally. And, so, but so many medications are now crossing. And so they're trying to treat a lot of the mental health stuff. And of course, in the world we live in, a lot of kids have the anxiety and depression, and that makes it tough because we just don't know the long-term effects on some of these medications with kiddos, and insurance companies shy away from it. And that's where the marketplace comes in, and we can make sure that they get the right care, make sure they get the therapy they need. And, but some of the meds are definitely a little intense. I mean, I'm excited to see they, trying to move away from some of the stimulants, but at the same time, just probably need to put down our phones and start there.
Yeah,
start with the phones, get off the devices for a little bit, and maybe that'll help because, the meds. Unfortunately, we live in a country that just loves their meds.
Yeah.
Proud of meds.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to not be on any meds.
Right.
And that's my badge of honor. I worked my way off of meds so that I could, try to live a little longer, little more naturally, instead of all the assisted things that you get a med and you get a new side effect, and then you get another med and another side effect.
And they're great when you really, really need them, but sometimes we don't know when we need to stop.
Ask questions. I mean, my biggest thing, obviously, they went to school. They know what they're doing, I hope. And, but do some research and try to fix things in your life, don't just take the cholesterol meds so that you can eat more bacon.
But bacon's so good.
Yes. But try to put some of the other natural foods in your body that help fix cholesterol so you can keep eating the bacon and not have another pill. I mean, most of the time someone gets put on a statin, they never come off, ever. And so, and that depletes you of other things. So then now you have another thing. I talk to so many people and I'm like, okay, well, let's go over what medications we need to make sure are covered. And they're like, hold on, you can hear the excitement in their voice. I'm like, oh, you got a list. And they do. I mean, I've talked to people that are on 6+ medications and I'm like, I'd be full after taking that many pills. I don't know how you do it. And it's where I don't know who's rewarded for it, but it feels like they won a game that I'm like, I don't want to be on that game show. I don't want to win that prize.
Yeah. So what are some other misconceptions about health insurance that we should be thinking about?
That every plan is created equal. So coming from corporate, that is the biggest shift ever. Because of course it depends on the company you work for, how much they contributed. Because they're like, I'm only paying $200 a month for my family. And I'm like, do not quit your job. You're going to be real upset. unless you have like the multi-million-dollar idea, because you're not going to be excited about those premiums. I had a corporate job once where, yeah, it was like $400 a month for the three of us. And I was like, what? And then when you start doing the numbers, I'm like, they paid 90% of my premiums. That's huge. So when you leave and you get that COBRA letter, I was like, yeah, we're going to go a different route because, but it was great insurance with low out of pocket. And people automatically think, oh, I can just get another one just like that when I leave my job. Or, of course, anyone over 40 who had insurance before the marketplace started, you could go directly to Blue Cross. You could go to any carrier and find a policy. But now you're going to just get shuffled back to the marketplace if you have a qualifying reason. So they want that platinum plan that they had from their employer, and that doesn't exist on the individual market. So it's just not an option to just go get it. And it makes it a hard conversation. Yeah. Most of the time you're looking at out of pockets that are significantly higher than you see in a corporate setting. Now those are climbing too, because there's limited options. But it is, again, it's a tough conversation, but that's what I'm here to just kind of at least set it up, like let people know this is your worst case scenario, because that's what we're looking at. What is that worst case scenario? God forbid you get that cancer diagnosis or have a heart attack. This is your end all be all number, and you can pay more premiums to get that to come down. But unfortunately, in the marketplace, it doesn't shift much unless you're paying an arm and a leg.
So I think one of the things I came from corporate America too, and it's been a huge shift, for me. But I've found, and I've heard this from my friends, that what gets covered by your companies is less and less and less than it was certainly, when I first started my career.
I mean, that company that I had $400 a month insurance, they covered everything. Everything. And I was like, I don't need any of those things. Like, I don't need half of that stuff, but hey, I'm glad it's there if I need it. Right. One of the biggest things I find now is a lot of fertility issues. And the only thing it's going to cover it is a corporate. And that's if your corporate, if that company wants to cover that service, that's expensive. It's, and I feel for those people that struggle. I had my struggles, and so I feel for them. It just really stinks that the options are pretty limited. I find people are just going without insurance so that they can try to afford the fertility. And I'm like, well, then you're not going to have insurance for your maternity coverage. The Dallas area, you could have a baby for 10 grand, which not like that's nothing, but you're out of pocket on a marketplace plan's $9,200. So at least if you're paying cash, you can pick wherever you want to go. You're not limited by your network. A lot of times on the marketplace, they're like, oh, well, this prescription's not covered. What goes to deductible? And unfortunately, the marketplace plans are used very heavily because that's where people are going if they do have a lot of pre-existing. And so some of those people are, very sick or, getting frequent treatments. And so those rates just keep climbing, and the majority of services apply to the deductible. So yes, they cover all of the points that, the government wanted them to cover, but you're going to meet a deductible and before those services are covered. And that's where my nosy questions come into play. Like, what are you actually going to the doctor for? We don't need to get into all the super nitty gritty, but, are you going for monthly for maintenance meds? Are you going quarterly? Or your doctor, cholesterol, they might do it annually. Like, that's cool. Maybe a sick visit here or there. Then we're not as worried about that deductible and, an outpatient service. But someone who's on Humira for RA, well, that medication is real expensive.
Real expensive.
And so oftentimes they're going to want you to pay that deductible. You're going to be responsible for a portion. Now with an employer plan, they have this big group of people that are absorbing so much of that. But of course, as time goes on and employees change and things happen and someone uses a lot of the coverage, I worked for a business and we had like ambulances show up like 3 times in 1 year because we had a real sickly, experienced crew of people there that actually I thought they were so much older than they were. They just were not taking care of themselves. I just assumed that they were older. They were not. They all had major heart conditions, and our insurance that year, and this was pre marketplace, and it was $1,000 for just me and my son. I was like, I can go anywhere and get it less, but then I lose the benefit of them paying. But at the same time, like, I'm about to have to pay you to work here. Like, this is crazy that it was, but it keeps getting used, and it is a for-profit business. Eventually they have to right side the ship. Again, with the weight loss meds, people think it should be covered. You're wanting to pay $400 a month and get $1,200 in services every single month. Business can't sustain that. I mean, what business can? And especially when, probably every other woman in the area is trying to lose a few pounds.
And the guys too.
And the guys too. And, and they're hopping on these. Well, eventually it will, yeah. And so, but health insurance seems to be the one insurance that we get that people are like, I'm going to use this and I'm going to get every dime out of it. Yeah. And, we don't go get our car insurance and be like, ooh, shiny new policy, rolling down the tollway, playing bumper cars. Yeah. See if I can get a new fender today. Like, nope. And that's a much lower deductible than on your health insurance. But people get on health insurance and they're like, I'm maxing this baby out. Yeah. Like, I'm going to see what I can squeeze out of it. And I'm like, and then we complain that our rates keep increasing. Yeah. So, I mean, we're seeing 15 to 20% increases on the marketplace every year.
Yeah, I've seen that for sure. Cause I've been on the marketplace now 5 years. I'm in my 5th year in this business. And then before that, I was fortunate enough to have corporate through my ex-husband, but, or on my own. Right. But even those were not the greatest, right?
Corporate is trying to price families out.
Yeah.
Because they can't control the pool.
Yeah.
And so if it's just the employees, not that they can control their health, but they have their pool that they're required to cover. Yeah. But when you start extending it to the family and you have, a couple extra people in every single household, it just makes the usage higher and these rates are going through the roof. And so the employer has to decide whether to absorb that cost and keep the employees happy or pass it along and potentially rock the boat and have to go now higher, which is brutal in this world as well. So now it's just a matter of they just make it too expensive to add the family, which is still a peeve, but they can at least justify that the employee cost is still reasonable. And so I see a lot of that right now, that it's just this war of premiums and just trying to find the right combination. And so many people just don't realize we can get creative. Yeah. I mean, we just need to get creative at this point and make it work. Doctor doesn't care if you have matching insurance cards because hopefully you're not all going in at the same time. But they just, unfortunately, doctors like to see the card. Yeah. Cash pay works for a lot. I hear a lot of people that I'm healthy. I can pay for my doctor's visits. Absolutely. Somehow in this area, our doctors are actually affordable, and it's, you can go to the doctor for $100.
Yeah. Well, you can go to, I have a client who's been on the show, Dr. Alex Santiago, from Bright Health. We love her. And she's at $150 a month, and you can go, unlimited, concierge style, unlimited visits. And it's
and
awesome.
That's great for the sniffles and sneezes and the little things. But if you have a heart attack,
right. You have to go.
She's got to tag someone else in. Yeah. So we've had a lot of doctors go to the concierge style, and that is great. But it's the big stuff.
You still need catastrophic.
We live in a congested area. There's car accidents constantly. People are like, oh, if I get in an accident, I've got car insurance. And I'm like, you understand what your limits are, right? Yeah. And with the rates going up on those, people are dropping their limits. I network with a lot of P&C agents. So they're like, people are making changes to try to save a buck here and there. Well, your, PIP insurance might not cover it. Or, you're going to have to sue somebody. And in the meantime, you're, having to come out of pocket and wait to potentially, hopefully get reimbursed. And there are other types of accidents than cars, which I've sadly had to explain to people. I mean, my dog trips me at least 7 times a day because if I move, he moves. So we're on the go together, no matter where it is.
We were joking before the show about how he's always like, right in your face.
Yes.
Right here.
This is named Luca now. We're going to name him Luca, the microphone, after my dog who can't be without me. He invades my space more than my son did as a child. I'm like, so I'm not used to this attention because Ryan didn't do this. Like, he was an independent kid. I was like, the moms who are like, I can't even go to the bathroom. I'm like, Ryan's like, see you later. I'm like, okay, wait, no, what are you going to do while I'm gone? Now I'm nervous. No, this dog has tried to crawl in my lap. And I'm like, this is a little too close, buddy. A little too close. So he has no sense of personal space. Apparently it's an Aussie thing. And yeah, he's special.
So one of the things that I admire the most about you is you are a power networker. Right. And so I would love for you to give a little advice to anybody who's listening, who's a small business owner, on kind of how you built your business, because I see you everywhere. And I actually use you as an example with my mentorship clients on how to connect with people particularly on Facebook, how to connect with people, how to stay in touch with them, right? Because I watched you and there's a couple other people who I watched and was like, oh, this is how it's done. So would love for you to talk a little bit about your approach to marketing your business, particularly networking.
Yeah. So with health insurance, a lot of it obviously is online leads. And that made my stomach just, no one wants those phone calls. No one. And
so in other words, you were the one having to make like cold calls.
I would have to make cold calls. And of course, pretty much with any business, you got to do what you got to do to start. And after about 3.5 months of that, I was like, I will not survive because people on the other end of the line are ugly, despite the fact that they went online. And yeah, PSA, do not go online. There's always a little box at the bottom that is checked. And if you don't uncheck it, they sell your information. So even if it's not me, go find an agent, ask somebody for a referral, like Google. I Google everything. It's my best friend. So find somebody, because we can't charge to give you a quote. Like, we can't. I mean, if someone's pressuring you, find a new agent. I'm absolutely fine giving someone a quote. It takes me seconds. Like, you want to compare against your work plan? Cool. Don't go online. Because I get that so much. I just wanted to see if I was getting a good deal through work. And I'm like, and now you're going to be on a list until literally 8 years after you die. And your family's going to still get phone calls. It's terrible. So I knew that was not how I wanted to do my business, because I didn't. And then of course, working from home by myself, I was like, okay, I need people so that like we don't drive each other crazy because we both work from home. So I started networking and I wanted to vomit like so much all the time.
Which surprises me because I know you and I would never have thought that.
Yeah. Oh, my husband's like, who are you? I'm like, I know. I did not want to talk to strangers. I liked my little bubble. And now he's like, well, your bubble is ridiculous now because it's so many people. And now I just love connecting people. So it was just going and meeting people and being authentic. And I'm like, yeah, that's who I am. A little bit of a smart ass sometimes, and I maybe crack inappropriate jokes, and I was my purple hair, and I ran into people on the way in that actually helped me with my LinkedIn stuff, and I was like, hey, and I was telling the story that my husband calls and says your 10 a.m. is here, and I'm like, I'm at my 10 a.m. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, and he says he's here for insurance, and I'm like, Google. And yeah, when I don't have anywhere to go, like I'm a hot mess at home. Like I've actually sold people. I'm like, yeah, this is not what I normally look like. Obviously you saw the picture on Google. But you showed up at my house unannounced. I guess it was announced when you set an appointment, but it says online, like I will call
there
you.
is a button on Google that says hide your address, but sometimes it's not working.
No, I've clicked it, unclicked it. I just keep like checking and unchecking and refreshing, and it says it's hidden. Judging from the guy who's at my house this morning, no, it is not. but Google works. So Sean knows enough. Maybe he'll get me a good deal today. Yeah. So I'm like, you've heard so much of this over 8 years. Come on, you got this.
But you really thrive now in those networking environments where maybe initially you were shy.
Because now I'm like, I have this squad of people who have my back. And I also have all of these resources that I share with my clients who are small business owners that I'm like, oh, you need a bookkeeper? I got one of those. Oh, you need foundation repair in this crazy area? Absolutely. I got you one of those. And now my friends are, finally catching on like, oh, I need a guy for this. I'm like, okay, I got you. I had the one client who needed social media help and I'm like, hey, here's a contact. And then he knows your husband, which I'm like, well, and it's, of course, sometimes it's those connections like, yeah, you already knew her. They weren't completing the circle.
My son said to me the other day, he goes, Mom, you know people in the weirdest jobs. Like, you know people everywhere. I was like, yeah, because I'm networking and yeah, absolutely. Like it's a funny thing that happens when you're networking a lot. You're like, oh, I know a foundation guy. And oh yeah, I know a Botox lady. And oh, I know somebody who does.
Right. And so now like people have asked my husband why he doesn't network for his business. And he's like, why would I? She knows everybody. I'm like, well, to market your own, I'm not marketing yours, but whatever. But when he needs a contractor or a specific thing that he doesn't do, he's like, all right, who do you have for this? I'm like, okay, let me just take it through my phone real fast. And all right, here's 3 guys. Here's my top 3. And, I can send them out to my clients and be like, hey, and then I ask my clients, I'm like, obviously I want them to stay in business. Why not? Keep them thriving as well. So how can I help promote their business and put it in front of other people? I invite them to networking events and some of them were like, oh, dear Lord. Yeah. My newest ones, they do batteries, like all types of batteries, any kind of battery you can need for your car. And they said they can like beat AutoZone and Walmart pricing. I was like, all right, well, thankfully I don't need a battery. Now it's going to put that out in the world. But I know where to go now. I'm like, all right, they're just on the other side of the lake. I can send my kid.
There's so many fascinating small businesses.
I know. I'm like, okay, that's fantastic. Got a lady who does trees. I'm pretty sure you've met her through Polka Dots. She was there way back.
Polka Dots is Polka Dot Powerhouse, which we're both members of. We were in a couple different networking groups together.
Our small cults.
Yeah, our little cult of pink and orange sparkles and lots of llamas. We love our llamas. Yeah. No drama llamas. Yeah. At the Polka Dots.
But our tree is having an issue in the backyard. So I just texted her and I'm like, she's like, all right, send me this picture, this picture, this picture. And she's like, it has a virus. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, so it's like amoxicillin. What do I get this thing? I'm like, I can't, I don't have health insurance on my tree. I'm like, what is happening?
Do you know can you help her get that? Can you help get your trees get health insurance?
Can't help anybody's trees. I do not do pet insurance. That's been really popular lately.
I know it exists.
Yeah.
It exists.
It's great. I have a dog with hip dysplasia, and I wish I would have gotten him pet insurance. Yeah. We have a 13-year-old border collie who's like gone to the vet like 3 times in her life ever. And they all happened in the last like 2 years. And she's super healthy. And I'm like, yeah, I never got pet insurance on her. And then we get this dang space invader and he is a hot disaster. He needs mental health coverage and he will need hip surgery. And he's not even 1.5 years old. So, but he has a pre-existing condition, so he can't get it.
Maybe the marketplace.
Yeah, there's no marketplace for dogs. So I was like, all right. Yeah. My husband's like, well, can't you get him insurance? I'm like, no, he has a pre-existing. And he's like, seriously? I'm like, yeah, it's a thing.
Just like people.
Yeah, it's a thing because it's going to be an expensive surgery for this crazy little pup. And yeah, either that or he's going to be medicated for the rest of his life. Right. But I'm like, and potentially in pain. So no, we'll deal with that when the time comes, when he's old enough. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely love networking though. I mean, like being part of the community, member of several chambers so that I can get out there and be involved in some of these small towns that surround us and help these small business owners try to save wherever we can to help them thrive.
Yeah, when they thrive, we all thrive, right?
trying to help where I can.
So thank you so much for being here. Tell us where we can find you.
Well, we already talked about Google because, they find me.
But don't show up at our house.
Please don't show up at my house because, today I'll look nice, but any other day it could be messy bun and who knows, leggings and a hoodie, just whatever. On social media, I'm at Julie's Got You Covered on Instagram and Facebook, and integrityhealthinsuranceadvisors.com.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.